We're talking about John Jones here, who is the most dangerous guy to ever fight in MMA. So I'm talking about potentially the most dangerous man, unarmed, on earth. If I'm sat backstage, getting my hands wrapped, knowing that he's over the opposite side of the arena, getting his hands wrapped, we're both going to walk into the arena in front of 35,000 people with millions watching around the world, and one of us is going to get separated from our consciousness, quite literally, and you're not scared of that, then, like I said, you're either a complete idiot or you're just lying. So you can never be a complete UFC fighter. It's impossible. That's one of the things that draws me to the sport so much, is why I'm so obsessed about it. It's because you're constantly chasing perfection, but you're never going to get it. No one's ever going to be the perfect, complete fighter. But John, in my opinion, if you look at his body of work over the last 15 years, he's like as close as you can get to perfection as possible. That being said, he's got a lot of miles on the clock, and he's fighting one of the most concussive punchers in UFC history. And I just think I can exploit it. Like, I think to get out the way of me for 25 minutes at this point in his career without getting hit once, and that's all I need is just one, I think that's going to be very difficult for anybody. He's had these plenty massive fight experience where I've only main evented the UFC like 4 or 5 times now. He's done that for the last 15 years. Do you know what I mean? So that stuff, from the outside looking in, you probably think, oh, that's a load of rubbish. Like, what's it? Just a fight. But being in those situations, those high pressure situations in those massive fights, if you've been there a lot of times before, in comparison to someone like me who's been there 4 or 5 times before, it does make a big difference. And I'm aware of that. I'm completely aware of it. But that's where he has the advantage, is the experience. Visualization is massive for me. I think a lot of people, when I talk about like visualization, they think I'm sat there with like some weird music on and crystals and all that. That's not what I mean. It's just simply daydreaming. Mental practice of going through the walkout, standing in the cage, getting the hands wrapped. Like, by the time I'm actually physically doing it, I've done it mentally 10,000 times. So that's massive for me.
Do you manifest the actual fight?
No, not really. Just more how I'm going to feel. So it's like, I could get in a spot now where I'm thinking about it, where I could almost feel what I'm actually going to feel when I'm fighting. I've done it that many times.
And what is it you want to feel?
I want to feel that fear. That's what I want to feel, because that's when I know. See, fears are very, it's not always a negative thing, fear. And people think it is. If someone's chasing you, for example, and you're scared, you're going to run way faster than you are if you're just jogging down the street. And I think a lot of people see the fear as a negative, but your senses are so heightened when you're scared like that. It makes me personally twice as sharp. Like, I don't spar very well in the gym, because if I'm going to get my ass kicked in the gym, the only people who know about it is me and the guy who's kicking my ass and a couple more people who are going to be watching. Whereas if I get my ass kicked in a fight, everyone and the dog is going to know about it for the next, it's going to be out there forever. And that brings a lot of pressure and fear, which makes me perform way better than it does in the gym where there's 10 people watching. A lot of UFC fighters like to pretend they're not scared. Now, I've basically spent my life in gyms and backstage at events and in these changing rooms. And listen, I'm yet to see a person who isn't scared. But it's very rare that like you'll get a UFC fighter who will talk about fear.
Wow.
Now, because it's a taboo subject. People want to be this big alpha guy, don't they? Who's like, oh, I'm getting in there, having a fight in a cage with somebody. Listen, if you're not scared, then you're either a complete idiot or you're lying.
What's your relationship with it like?
Well, I used to have a terrible relationship with it, because I used to think, because like I said, it's a very taboo subject, fear, in MMA. People don't want to talk about it with these macho cage fighters who are like savages and gladiators and all that. It's a lot of rubbish. It's just a sport at the end of the day. It's scary. It's a scary thing to do. So I used to watch interviews of all these other guys and think, I'm different because I am scared and these guys aren't scared. And it's only as I got up there in levels, I realized like, it's okay to admit that you're scared and do it anyway. To me, that's like well more, I don't know, like I would be more scared of someone who says that as opposed to for me, it's really, someone's really switched on mentally if they go like, listen, I'm really scared, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm gonna come and kick your ass in front of millions of people, and I'm really scared doing it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I think that's like some like badass thing to do.
You know who we all want to be? That person. The one who's meal prepping. They've got their organic grain bowls. They come in with their quinoa, all of that stuff. We know they're also getting a full 8 hours sleep, meditating before sunrise, never rowing with anyone, and just hitting it every time. But let's be real. Who has the time for that? Like me, you've probably got loads to juggle: kids, work, exercise, pretending that you've got everything together at the same time, and something has to give. And for me, traditionally, that was energy. And then I discovered Vitals by Heights. And these changed so much for me. Just 2 capsules, the job is done so fast. And then I know for the rest of the day, my irons, my B vitamins, my immune system's being looked after. I've got zinc for bone health, omega-3 and DHA for normal heart health. Honestly, the lot is packed into these golden little beauties. And as we see on the High Performance show so often, high performers aren't perfect. They've just worked out the smart things that make a difference. So why don't you do right by your brain, your body, and your health? Head to heights.com/Jake or enter the code HP20 at checkout for 20% off your first order. You've shown your physical strength, right? I mean, there's no doubts about that. To tell us that you're scared and you'll still walk forwards into that fire, into that heat, that's a true mental strength. How do you keep walking forwards? What do you do? I'm interested in the kind of mental gymnastics, if you like, at this point. So you're getting your hands wrapped, that fear starts to rise. I'm interested in actually how it does feel. But then how do you make it a fear that heats you rather than a fear that burns you?
Oh, well, with great difficulty, usually.
Really?
It's something that I've practiced for a long time. Like, I used to have 2 fights. I say it all the time. I used to have like 2 fights. I used to be fighting my opponent, but fighting myself, mainly, trying to push that fear away. And I just realized after a bit, like, this is never going to go away, because before, like pre-UFC, when I was like, even pre-professional fighting, when I was like an amateur fighter and stuff, I used to like watch UFC fighters and think, I can't wait to get to that level, because these guys like have no fear, and that'll just go away. But what you realize is the higher in level you go, the more pressure is on you. Like, the more's at stake, especially when you start talking about, like me, I'm a dad of 3. At one point, I was absolutely skint. I had no money, and I was trying to like provide for my family. Like, there's a lot on the line there. Do you know what I mean? So fear's there. And I think the main thing that I do is I just try and embrace it and enjoy it. Because when you like an older guy, like grandfather age, whatever, like, I like to think that's what I'll be telling my grandkids about. Now, a lot of the times I was like wishing those moments away. The hand wrap moments, the walking out moments, the stood in the cage, waiting for the referee to get out of the way and tell you to go. Like, I was wishing all this away and just having the fight over with. And that, they're very, very special moments. And there's a very, very few people walking around on planet Earth who are privileged enough to be able to do that. To privileged enough to be able to sit in a chair and tell the grandkids about it one day in 20 years' time or whatever, that this is what I used to do. So why not try and enjoy them? That's really something that I've focused on, especially like these days. I'm not saying I'm going to retire anytime soon or anything, because hopefully I'm not. But I'm aware that I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning now. I'm on like the second half of my career now. And I think it's about time that I started enjoying it, rather than, trying to fight this fear all the time.